Yeah.
So, good morning, Samantha.
Morning.
Today's session is focused on observing your teaching, specifically the feedback that you're going to provide your learner after a lesson. This session will also assess your ability to give constructive feedback and ensure that learners understand how they can improve their performance moving forward. Throughout the observation, I'll be looking at how you communicate your feedback and support learners in their development. So, learning objectives. By the end of this session, the goal is for you to demonstrate your ability to provide clear, specific and constructive feedback to learners that supports their development. Ensure that your feedback is actionable with clear steps on how the learner can improve their performance. Maintain a positive and encouraging tone while offering areas for improvement to motivate the learner. And reflect on your feedback process and make adjustments if necessary to ensure continued improvement for the learner. So during this observation, we will be focusing on the following assessment criteria, which is essential in evaluating your ability to provide constructive feedback. So number one, use teaching and learning approaches, resources and assessment methods to meet individual learner needs. We'll assess how you adapt your feedback to suit different learner needs. 2, communicate effectively with learners to meet their individual needs. So we'll evaluate how clearly and effectively you communicate feedback, ensuring that it's tailored to the learner's understanding. And then number 3, provide constructive feedback to learners to meet their individual learning needs. This is the primary focus of the session, and we'll observe how you give feedback in a supportive, actionable and clear manner. As part of the appeal process, it's important that you are aware of your right to appeal any part of this assessment. If you feel that the assessment process or the decision made does not accurately reflect your performance or the feedback provided, you do have the right to appeal. So, to do so, you would need to submit a formal written appeal to me within 5 working days, clearly outlining your reasons for the appeal. I will review the appeal in detail and provide a response, either agreeing with the concerns raised and making adjustments or providing an explanation as to why the assessment was conducted as it was. If you're still dissatisfied with the outcome after my response, you can escalate the matter to the awarding body, which is Focus Awards, who will then conduct an independent review of the assessment. It's important that this process remains transparent and fair for all parties involved.
Brilliant. So, good morning, Anthony, and thank you for taking part in our session around safety protocols. I want to start by acknowledging the effort and the care that you showed during that session. It was really clear that you were paying attention to the safety of your clients, and you could see that commitment in you of achieving the right results. So really, really well done for that. How did you feel the session went?
I think it went great. I took away a lot from it.
Brilliant, that's good to know. So did you feel like there were any more areas that needed more questioning, more understanding, more explanation from yourself, or?
I think you definitely went into detail with it all.
Good. So I was particularly impressed with your questioning skills. For example, during the session, you demonstrated a good understanding of how to maintain that patient safety, and identify good hygiene protocols, and where you weren't quite sure, you were asking questions, or where you felt particularly that your knowledge excelled in that area, you were able to ask those questions just to reaffirm your understanding already. That being said, we do also need to look at areas for growth, and give you some feedback that's going to help you improve further with your learning. So, some information during our session just didn't seem to embed totally. And where we got to the point where that information maybe wasn't totally going in, I feel that those questions then lacked there. You weren't asking as many questions if it was something that you were unsure of or not sure of how the feedback was going to go from there. So it is really important that you take in everything during those sessions. Do you feel the pace of the session met your requirements?
Knew what it was. It was a little bit fast for me, and I didn't want to say anything because the other person that was on the course, and I just didn't want to seem stupid. I'm more of a hands-on sort of learner.
Mm-hmm.
I can learn all different ways, but I prefer hands-on, actually doing practicals and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a little bit fast, but in the end, I caught.
Yeah, so basically I think it was quite evident that some of that information in terms of the PowerPoint, all of that, when it wasn't going and you weren't as comfortable to speak up. But that's fine. To refine that moving forward, it might be beneficial for you to have a look at some of the videos from the session, just review the session again in video format, just to really help you embed that learning. It also might be good for you to actually practice. So you said you're a hands-on learner, practice those safety protocols again in your own comfortable environment. You can either do it in front of a mirror so you can see yourself doing it, or potentially videos and watch back the videos and then give yourself your own feedback on what went well, what could have been done differently. I know that adapting to new techniques, learning new things can be really challenging, but I do want you to know that you're already well on the way to mastering everything. Your willingness to learn shone through, and so you know that's going to be what makes you a great practitioner. Each session as well that we hold, we will just carry on building on what you're already doing. So you're not going to be perfect on day one. There's always going to be something that we can do a little bit different, but we'll continue those building blocks. So for our next session, when we're together, let's really focus on exhibiting the practices of safe hygiene alongside the practice that you're going to be doing at home. But overall, you are doing a fantastic job and you are dedicated to everything that we're looking to achieve here. Is there anything else that you're wanting to ask at this point, or anything that you're wanting to clarify, or? No? Well, that's great. So next steps to help improve, I've just put a couple down here. So I've just put a few more practicals with your clients, just to be able to really get into the practice of doing things, so you're a hands-on learner. To recap, I've said maybe watch the video from the other day, just again to embed that knowledge. Record yourself doing the steps or practice in front of a mirror, so that you're again doing that hands-on practice, and then maybe also reviewing safety protocols. That could be online or through videos if that's the way you prefer to learn, just so that you can really understand the why of the reasons behind you do some of the things. Again, through your questioning, it's very evident that you want to understand that why. So if you can be reviewing those safety protocols, that's only going to help embed the learning. Also, don't hesitate to share your contributions with your peers. I know that you reflected and said you didn't want to sometimes ask those questions because you didn't want to seem silly. The power of being able to share those questions, I'm probably in the exact same position as you, where they don't feel like they want to be sharing those things. So feel confident to do that. No question is a silly question. If you don't ask it in that learning environment, you potentially are going to be sat there thinking, oh, I wish I'd asked that question, or I wish that I'd maybe done something else a little bit differently. Do all of these actions make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Anything that requires clarification? No, you're all good? Do you feel that they're achievable and they help you to achieve your learning objectives?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. And so if you do have any questions afterwards, obviously feel free to reach out to me. What I'm also going to do is just provide you with a copy of the actions that I've suggested for your further improvement, just so that you can refer to them in paper format if you need to refresh your mind. But that's it for the feedback session today. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Take care.
You did really well then. How do you feel it went?
Yeah, I feel that teaching session, so it was easy to give that feedback without going into detail around his self-reflection. He would give me indications of things that he's maybe thought about since and now wants to do differently. Like he was saying I didn't want to look silly in front of people, so hopefully that one-to-one environment has given him the platform now to feel confident to answer those questions in the future.
So I've just got a few questions for you. Can you explain how you provided feedback to the learner during the session? How did you ensure the feedback was specific and actionable?
So in terms of actionable, I asked Anthony if he felt like we met his learning objectives, and if he felt that he could achieve those things. Making them specific, I put actions in there that were relevant to his feedback and discussion, so that action around speaking up during the lessons when other people are there, I felt was specific to what he'd said he needed.
So how did you balance positive and constructive feedback? Can you give me an example from the session?
So I tried to open with very positive feedback. So I opened by saying what Anthony had done well. I placed the constructive feedback within the middle of the conversation, and made sure that it was clear that that was constructive feedback, then given the actions that would help him improve, all the while focusing on that positive language. So still using positive language to say, you're doing really well, this is what we can improve on, and then supporting him with the actions of how we can improve on that.
Yeah.
And then I ended the conversation on a positive note by saying, it's not going to be done in a day, everything that you're doing is really well so far.
Okay. How did you ensure that the learner understood your feedback? So what steps did you take to confirm that they were able to apply the feedback effectively?
So I openly asked Anthony if he felt that they were achievable, whether he understood everything within that feedback. I've also given him the option to follow up with me, ask more questions if he reflects in the future and if it doesn't make sense, he feels able to come to me and ask more questions if he needs.
Okay. Can you give me an example of how you provided constructive feedback to help a learner improve their performance in a specific area, such as safety protocols?
So that was the direct feedback conversation that I just had with Anthony, the direct feedback, focusing on the positives, and we gave him a clear, summarised plan of actions, and I'm going to give him a copy of the agreed actions as well.
Okay. What strategies did you use to ensure the feedback was delivered in a way that the learner could receive it without feeling discouraged?
I gave a lot of positive reinforcement, so as I said previously, starting that conversation on a real positive, ending on a positive, and whilst I was having that conversation around the areas of improvement, I was conscious to use positive language so that it doesn't feel like we've done anything wrong. It is these are the areas that we can do a little bit better. We also asked questions to ensure the embedding of the information that I was given to Anthony, just to make sure that it was hitting the right mark and that he felt engaged with that feedback that I was giving him.
Perfect. Looking back on the feedback you gave during the session, is there anything that you would have done differently to make it more effective?
Yeah, definitely. Now, reflecting on particularly the statement around not asking questions in front of peers, I think I'd like to encourage moving forward more peer-to-peer feedback towards each other, because I think that will help Anson build more confidence and the other learners build more confidence in asking those questions and doing things from somebody's perspective who is in the same boat with them. Probably not potentially face-to-face peer, maybe in the form of kind of a survey, a written survey, so that I can review and we can share those responses in a one-to-one environment to start off with, and moving forward we can start articulating that reach.
Cool. How did you encourage the learner to self-reflect on their performance, and how did you support their development after the feedback?
I think on reflection of the feedback, I could have probably encouraged Anthony to reflect on himself more. I did open up the conversation with the statement of how did you feel that session went, and when he said, oh yeah, I think it went really well, maybe could have summarised with asking that question again. So based on my feedback, how do you still feel that the session went really well? First of all, to understand that he is delivered that message of the actions in a positive way, in a way that I was hoping that he'd get it through my tone and things, but also just to really encourage his critical thinking of his own actions.
So lastly, did you notice any areas where the learner struggled or could benefit from additional feedback or support, and how would you address these areas in future lessons?
Yeah, so that's definitely that peer-to-peer observation. I think Anthony the learner would really benefit from more peer-to-peer observations, just so that it's building on his confidence and his skills, and also building on his confidence to be able to feel comfortable asking those extra questions to make sure that learning is being embedded.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I will put together a observation form, and then we can go through your feedback.
Thank you very much.